I had everything ready for Christmas Eve. The roast in the oven, the gifts wrapped in gold paper, the table set for 4, just like every year. I had even ironed the red dress my granddaughter loved. I was waiting for Michael to send the usual text, "Mom, we're on the way." But the phone stayed quiet longer than it ever had. I sat in my living room, lights from the Christmas tree reflecting off the window. Outside, Charleston was glowing with garlands and wreaths. Inside, my house felt still. Too still. I checked my phone again, pretending I wasn't checking it every 30 seconds. Then I heard the vibration. A message. From Michael. For a moment, I actually smiled. Then I opened it. "Christmas is only for family. You aren't. Lisa and I think it's better this way." I read it twice, 3 times, and a 4th, even though my chest already understood what my eyes refused to believe. The words didn't get softer the more I read them. They got sharper. Family. You aren't. My son. My only son. The boy I raised alone after his father died. The child I worked double shifts for. The teenager I drove to early football practice every morning. The man I helped put through college. The father I babysat for whenever they needed me. That son. I stared at the screen, and the world suddenly sounded like it had turned itself off. There was no explosion inside me, no scream, no tears, just quiet. A cold, surgical kind of quiet. The kind that arrives when something breaks too cleanly, too deeply, to make noise. I looked up, and across the room the Christmas lights kept blinking, cheerful and stupid, as if mocking me. 20 years of Christmas traditions with Michael, all erased with one message. And it wasn't even from him. Lisa had typed it. I could hear it in every word. The same woman who smiled politely at me at Thanksgiving, who told neighbors I was so helpful with the kids, who hugged me at birthdays but never let me hold the remote in her house, who said she wanted healthy boundaries. That same woman now told me I wasn't family. But what hurt wasn't her. It was the silence behind the text. Michael's silence. The silence of a grown son who didn't bother to call, didn't bother to soften the blow, didn't bother at all. I sat very still. I didn't clutch my chest. I didn't fall apart. Something colder happened. My face emptied, my breathing slowed. I could feel my pulse in my hands, but steady. Too steady. I typed 2 words back. "As you wish." No more, no less. I didn't add a question mark. Didn't ask why. Didn't ask what changed. I hit send, placed the phone face down on the table, and folded my hands in my lap. The house hummed with the heater turning on. Outside, a neighbor laughed loudly. Somewhere down the street, a family was singing Christmas songs. Life went on as if mine hadn't just been rewritten in a single sentence. I stood up slowly, walked to the window, watched a couple taking photos beside a blow-up snowman on their lawn. The happiness felt far away, like something I once understood but couldn't touch anymore. Only for family. You aren't. The words repeated themselves in my head, calm and merciless, like a judge reading a verdict. No argument, no right to appeal. I went to the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and drank it in small, controlled sips. The cold of the water steadied me. I set the glass down without a sound. Then I walked to the hallway closet, pulled down the box where I kept important documents, and set it on the dining table. I didn't open it, not yet. But the moment my fingers touched the lid, something shifted inside me. A click, small but final. I had spent years forgiving Michael quietly, years letting comments slide, years shrinking myself to not overstep, years pretending the distance wasn't growing. But the text made one thing clear. This wasn't a moment. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't sudden. This was the truth, finally spoken out loud. I wasn't family. Not to them. Not anymore. And once I accepted that, something else entered the room. Slow, steady, undeniable. Clarity. Not anger, not revenge, not even grief. Just an understanding so sharp it felt like cold air filling my lungs for the first time. I walked back to the living room, picked up the phone again, looked at the message one last time. Then I turned off the sound and placed the phone in the drawer. A simple gesture, but it felt like closing a door I had been holding open for years. Lisa wanted a Christmas without me. Michael allowed it. They both made a choice. Now it would be my turn. I blew out the candles on the table, turned off the tree lights, took my coat from the hanger and pulled it on slowly. The air in the house felt different now, lighter in a strange way. One sentence had ended something, but it had also begun something else. I locked the door behind me and stepped outside. The December wind hit my face like an answer I had been avoiding for too long. I exhaled slowly, letting it all go. They said I wasn't family. Fine. They would learn what that meant. I walked to my car, opened the door, and sat down. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I just placed my hands on the steering wheel and stared ahead. This wasn't the night I lost my family. This was the night I finally saw them clearly. And clarity, I realized, is the beginning of everything. I drove home without turning on the radio. No music, no noise. Just the sound of my own breathing and the Christmas lights flashing on every street like a joke I no longer found funny. Charleston looked warm, lively. Families rushing with gifts, couples holding hot chocolate, kids pointing at decorations. And me? Driving home after being told I wasn't family. I parked in my driveway and sat still for a moment. No shaking, no crying, just stillness. Then I walked inside. The house greeted me with silence, a heavy one, a silence that didn't come from peace. It came from absence. I placed my keys on the counter. The sound echoed too loudly. I stood there looking at the kitchen I had cleaned for tomorrow's dinner, the rolls I baked, the salad I prepped, the cranberry sauce cooling in the fridge, all of it ready for no one. I opened the refrigerator. Everything was neatly organized, prepared hours before Michael's message. I stared at the full shelves like they were mocking me. I closed the door slowly. I walked to the living room. The Christmas tree lights blinked on their own timer. Red, gold, red, gold. The room looked warm, but it wasn't. I sat on the sofa and looked around. The house felt too clean, too quiet, too calm, like it had known something I hadn't. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. Then the thought hit me, sharp and cold. This wasn't the first time. I said it quietly, and the room felt even emptier. They didn't uninvite me today. They've been doing it for years. The words came out slow but solid, heavy, true. I stood and walked to the hallway, turning on the light. The brightness didn't help. The walls felt distant, like they belonged to someone else. I opened the door to the spare room, the one I used for the kids. The blankets were folded, the toys untouched, the rocking chair still. I realized I hadn't used this room in months, maybe longer. I couldn't even remember the last time Sophie or Liam slept over. I shut the door quietly. I walked back to the living room and picked up a picture frame, a family photo from 2 years ago. Then I picked up the next one. Another year missing me, and the next, photo after photo. I faded more and more until I wasn't in them at all, not forgotten, removed. I placed the frames back, one by one, lined perfectly as if nothing had changed. But everything had. I went to my small office and turned on the lamp. The light covered only the desk. Everything else stayed in shadow. That felt accurate. I opened the drawer where I kept old things. Cards, notes, drawings from Michael when he was little. Birthday cards he wrote in messy handwriting. Mother's Day notes that said, "You're the best." I held one. "I love you, Mom." I stared at it long enough for the words to feel unreal. Then I put it back carefully. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter, I wasn't nostalgic. I was awake. For the first time, I saw the pattern clearly. The canceled plans, the maybe next week, the holidays spent alone, the sudden excuses, the dinners I wasn't invited to, the distance that grew inch by inch. So slow I pretended not to notice. This wasn't a sudden cut. It was a long fade. Michael hadn't pulled away tonight. He had been walking away for years. I stood, feeling the weight of the truth settle in my chest like a cold stone. It didn't hurt the way heartbreaks do. It hurt the way realizations do, quietly, fully, without drama. I walked back to the kitchen, turned on the light. The place looked staged, like a set for a holiday show that had been canceled. I opened the sink faucet and washed my hands, slowly. The water ran warm, but I felt nothing. I looked at my reflection in the dark window above the sink. I didn't see someone abandoned. I saw someone finally done pretending. I dried my hands, turned off the light, walked to the living room again, stood in front of the tree. "I should have seen it," I said softly. The lights blinked back. Lisa didn't remove me out of nowhere. Michael didn't choose her over me overnight. This had been prepared, practiced, perfected. Christmas was just the moment they finally said it out loud. I exhaled slowly, not shaky, not broken, just clear. I wasn't part of their family, not in their eyes. And once I accepted that, something inside me aligned with a cold, quiet certainty. If I wasn't part of their life, then nothing I gave them had to be either. And that thought, clean and sharp, became the first step of everything that would follow. I arrived at Daniel's villa before noon. The key he forgot to take back still opened the door. That already told me enough. The living room was spotless. Too spotless. A house only looks like that when the owners are hiding something. I walked in slowly, checking every corner. Then I heard a small click from upstairs. A drawer. Someone had been here recently. I went straight to Daniel's office. His laptop was gone. His safe was open. And on the desk, a single folder lay perfectly centered, like someone wanted me to find it. Inside was a document with my name in bold. Transfer of ownership, pending. My heart didn't race. It froze. I kept reading. Daniel had planned to move my villa into a joint family trust, a trust where I had zero control, a trust where his wife, Laura, controlled everything. At the bottom, a printed note. Submit once mother signs. But I had never signed a thing, never even heard of this. I whispered, "So that's the plan." Daniel wasn't just uninviting me from Christmas. They were removing me from my own life. My phone buzzed. A message from Laura. "Hope you're resting, Mom. We'll handle Christmas this year." I stared at the screen. Handle? They were handling me like a problem to be moved out of the way. I opened another folder. Inside were mortgage statements, all paid by me, one by one, line after line, my money, their signature. Then a second envelope. This one hit harder. Printouts of Daniel's messages to Laura. "Once she signs, the villa is ours. She won't question it. She needs to learn to step back." And Laura's answer, "She will. She's used to obeying." Obeying. That word burned. I kept flipping pages, a screenshot, a conversation from 2 weeks ago. Daniel, "Should we tell her before Christmas?" Laura, "No, let's keep it peaceful. After the transfer, she can stay in the guest room." Daniel, "Good. I'm done with her rules." Laura, "Same. She'll adjust." Adjust? They were planning to demote me in my own house. I sat down, not because I was tired, but because the level of disrespect was so deliberate, so calculated. I needed to see it with cold eyes. Then I opened the last document, a draft email to his lawyer. Subject, effective removal from title. Message, proceed immediately after Christmas dinner. She won't resist. She's alone. I said aloud, "Is that so?" I walked to the hallway. Every family photo was perfectly arranged, except one detail. I was missing from all the newer ones, graduations, trips, birthdays, all displayed proudly, all without me. I wasn't being excluded from Christmas. I had been removed long before. I checked the kitchen next, a calendar hung by the fridge. On December 28th, a red circle. Lawyer, 3 p.m. I traced the circle with my finger. "This was never about a holiday," I whispered. This was eviction. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I froze, then slowly walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was the neighbor, Mrs. Collins. Her face was pale. I opened the door a crack. She leaned in, whispering urgently, "Are you all right? I thought you had moved out already." "Moved out?" I repeated. "Yes," she said. "Daniel told the HOA you'd be leaving soon. He said you were taking a long trip, maybe not coming back." My jaw clenched. "And when did he say that?" "Last week." Last week, before he even uninvited me. This wasn't a reaction. This was preparation. Mrs. Collins hesitated, then added, "And he had movers here on Tuesday." I stared at her. "What did they take?" "Boxes from the garage, files, some furniture. Daniel said you approved it." "Approved?" I stepped back, numb. He had already started emptying my villa. I thanked her and closed the door. Then I walked straight into the master bedroom. The closet door was slightly open. Inside, half the shelves were empty. Daniel had cleared space. For who? Laura? Her clothes? Their new life in my house? On the nightstand, a small note. "Laura, try this color palette for the remodel." The remodel of my villa. The air felt heavier, colder, but my mind was sharper than ever. Then I found the final piece, a folder labeled Finances. Inside were bank summaries showing exact logs of every transfer I had made for the villa. Daniel had highlighted them, every dollar, every date, every sacrifice. And a note at the bottom, "She won't need access after December. Simplify." I exhaled slowly, very slowly. Not in sadness, in clarity. They thought I would break, hide, cry, ask to be included. No. They had forgotten who built this house, who paid for every stone, who signed every check. I whispered into the silent room. "You two made one mistake." I picked up the transfer draft, held it between my fingers. "You thought I wouldn't fight back." I folded the document, placed it into my bag, and walked out of the villa. Not devastated, not shaken, but ready for the part they never saw coming. The moment I stepped out of the villa, the plan clicked into place. Not out of rage, out of precision. I got into my car, closed the door, and made one call. "Martin, it's Helen." He paused. Whenever I spoke that quietly, he knew something serious was coming. "I need a full legal action, today." "What kind?" he asked. "The kind that ends ownership," I said. "Mine, not theirs." There was another silence, this one sharper. "Helen, are you sure?" "Yes." "All right, I'll prepare everything. Come to my office in 1 hour." I hung up. No explanation. He didn't need one. People who respect you don't ask why. They act. I drove home, walked in, didn't even take off my coat. I opened my safe, pulled out the original villa deed, the mortgage statements, every document Daniel thought I had forgotten. I put them into a folder, closed it, and left again. No hesitation, no shaking hands, just movement. At Martin's office, he had the papers ready. "Helen, once you sign this revocation, the villa becomes fully yours on record. They lose all implied claims. They can't contest. They can't delay. They can't negotiate." "Good," I said. He slid the documents toward me. "This is the moment that changes everything. Are you prepared for the fallout?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I'm prepared for silence, and then I'm leaving." He nodded. "Then sign." I signed every page carefully, slowly, letting the sound of each stroke settle. When the last page was done, he sealed the packet. "It's official. The villa is yours. Completely." "No," I corrected. "It's official. For the next 4 hours. Then it belongs to someone else." Martin blinked. "You're selling it?" "I'm ending the cycle," I said. He sat back. "Then let's finalize the sale." Everything moved fast after that. He contacted the buyer. I approved the offer. Cash. Immediate closing. No counteroffers. No delays. By 4:15 p.m., the transaction was complete. Just like that, the villa was gone. Not Daniel's, not Laura's, not mine. Sold. Paid in full. Final. Martin handed me the confirmation packet. "You understand," he said quietly. "They will be furious." "They already were," I answered. "Now they'll just be loud." He exhaled. "You're leaving tonight?" "Tomorrow morning." "For how long?" "As long as I want." He gave a small, almost respectful smile. "You always had this strength. You just never used it." I was too busy protecting people who weren't protecting me. When I left his office, the sun was setting. The city looked the same, but I didn't. I drove to the villa one last time, not to see it, to finish the final step. I parked across the street, breathing steady, watching the quiet house that once belonged to me for decades and had turned into a battlefield I never asked for. I walked up to the door and used my key. The lock clicked easily, too easily. Inside, everything felt cold, not the temperature, the intention. I went straight to the kitchen table. This was the stage for the final message. I took out the envelope, placed it neatly in the center of the table. Inside was everything. The deed, the sale contract, the payment confirmation. A letter, just one page, one sentence. This house was mine. Now it belongs to strangers, just like I do. Short, clean, undeniable. I left the envelope open, not to be dramatic, but because truth doesn't need sealing. Before leaving, I checked the rooms one last time. The empty closet, the cleared shelves, the missing photos. They had already rewritten the story. I was simply giving them the ending. When I reached the front door, I paused, not from emotion, just acknowledgement. This house had been a gift, then a duty, then a weapon. Now, it was nothing. I stepped outside, locked the door, slipped the key into the mailbox slot. Done. Walking back to my car, Mrs. Collins came out again. "Helen, everything all right?" "Yes," I said calmly. She looked confused. "You look different." I finally made a decision. "And Daniel, Laura? They'll understand when they get home." "Understand what?" "That choices have consequences." She didn't know what to say, so she nodded, the way people nod when they sense the truth but don't want details. When I drove away from the villa, I didn't look in the rearview mirror, not once. Some scenes don't deserve a final glance. I went home and started packing. One suitcase, one carry-on. One folder with only the documents I needed for travel. Nothing sentimental, nothing heavy, a clean break. My passport sat on the table. I placed it inside my coat pocket. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Mom, we're landing soon. Are you home? The kids want to see you." I didn't respond. Silence was the first boundary he ever respected. 5 minutes later, another message, this one from Laura. "Dinner tomorrow? We want to talk about Christmas and plans for next year." Plans. I put the phone face down. No replies. Tonight was for me. At 10:30 p.m., I finished packing, closed the suitcase, took one last slow walk through my apartment. This place had always been temporary. A stop, a shelter, a waiting room. Tomorrow I wouldn't need it. I sat on the couch and allowed the quiet to settle around me. Not loneliness, not sadness, just calm. The kind of calm that comes only when a decision is final. At 6:10 a.m., I would be at the airport. At 9:45, in the air. By noon, in Scotland, far away from the villa, far away from the messages, far away from their expectations. Martin texted one last time. "Safe trip. If they contact me, I will handle everything." I replied with 2 words. "Thank you." Then I turned off the phone. The execution was done. Tomorrow, the silence would begin. I drove to the villa before sunrise. No traffic, no sound. Just cold air and a decision I had already made. I parked in the driveway and stepped out. The grass was wet. The house looked exactly the same as always. Beautiful, expensive, untouched. But inside, I already knew Nothing about it belonged to me anymore. I used the spare key, the one they forgot existed, or maybe they thought I was too weak to use it. The lock clicked. I pushed the door open. The silence hit first. Not peaceful, empty. I stood in the doorway for 3 seconds, just looking, just breathing. Then I walked in. The Christmas tree was still lit. White lights, perfectly arranged, immaculate, except there wasn't a single ornament I gave them, not one. I stepped closer, checked the branches, checked the boxes on the floor. Nothing. My gifts weren't displayed, they weren't even opened. A small box lay behind the couch, my handwriting on the tag. I picked it up, still sealed. They didn't forget me. They erased me. I set the box down and turned toward the hallway. Their family photos were on the wall. New ones, recent ones, all perfectly framed. Hawaii, Disney, school events, birthdays. I scanned each frame, slowly, carefully. Then I realized it. I wasn't in a single picture. Not one, not Christmas, not Thanksgiving, not the kids' birthdays. Nothing. 4 years. Gone, cut out, deleted, replaced. I felt my jaw tighten, not from pain, from clarity. I kept walking. In the kitchen, a folder sat on the table, open, freshly printed papers spread out. I pulled the stack closer, read the top page. Transfer of ownership, preliminary draft. My name was printed in bold. Under it, owner to transfer property to Michael Hartley. I didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't react. I simply flipped to the next page. Lisa's handwriting was everywhere. Little notes. Have him sign before January. Use sentimental argument. She's soft, easy to convince. Soft, easy. Not anymore. I placed the papers back exactly where they were, perfectly aligned, exactly as they left them. I walked down the hallway to the guest room. My room. The room they said they kept ready for me. A lie. The bed was unmade. Storage boxes were stacked against the wall. My blanket was gone. My clothes were shoved into a single bag in the corner. A note taped to it. Mom's things. Nothing else. No respect. No thought. Just a label. I crouched down and opened the bag. Inside were my sweater, my slippers, and 2 books I left last time. At the bottom, something small glinted, a frame. I pulled it out. It was a photo of me holding Sophie when she was 2, one of my favorites. It used to sit in the living room. Now it was at the bottom of a bag, like trash. I stared at it for a moment, not with sadness, with understanding. They didn't forget me. They buried me. I put the frame back and zipped the bag. Enough. I stood up and walked to the master bedroom. Clothes were scattered everywhere. Designer shoes, shopping bags, receipts. Then a box on the bed caught my eye. A brand new tablet, still in the packaging. A gift from me last Christmas. Never opened, never used. I sat on the edge of the bed, looked around the room slowly. Every corner of this house told a story, and none of them included me. This wasn't my family's home. This was a stage, a place where they performed the version of their lives that didn't need me, and they were comfortable living it. I stood up, walked back to the living room, stopped in the center of the floor. "This is the last time," I said quietly. The last time I walked into this villa as the person they expected. The last time I let them define my place. The last time I accepted being erased. I looked at the tree again. The lights flickered softly. "Not forgotten," I whispered. "Erased." I stepped toward the door. Halfway there, I turned back. Not because I doubted myself, but because I wanted to remember this feeling, the exact second I stopped being the mother they could step on. I walked into the kitchen one more time, pulled open the drawer where they kept their keys, Michael's spare key, Lisa's car key, a storage key. I took none of them. They weren't mine. They weren't my responsibility. I touched the letter I would leave behind tomorrow, not yet written, but already decided. A letter that wouldn't ask for apologies, wouldn't beg for explanations, wouldn't justify a single thing. Just facts. I owned the villa. I sold it. The money was mine. I was gone. Simple. I walked out, locked the door behind me, held the key for one last second, then slid it under the mat. It didn't belong in my pocket anymore, because this villa, this family, this version of my life, none of it belonged to me anymore. I got into my car, closed the door, started the engine. No tears, no shaking, no regret. Just a clean, sharp line between the past and what came next. I drove away without looking back. They erased me. Now I was erasing the life they built on top of me. And when morning came, they would learn exactly what that felt like. The backlash started the moment they found the letter. I didn't see it in real time. My phone was off. I was already gone. But when I turned it on the next morning, the screen exploded. Calls, messages, voicemails, all at once. I put the phone on the table, face up, just watching it vibrate. The first message came instantly. "Mom, what is this?" Then another. "The house is empty. Where are you?" Then, "This has to be a mistake." No, it wasn't. Hannah walked in with 2 mugs of tea. "Bad?" she asked. "Predictable," I said. The phone buzzed again. "Daniel, why did you leave a letter like that?" I didn't answer. He called. I declined. He called again. Declined. 5 more calls followed. Hannah sat down. "You don't owe answers." "I know." Another message. "Did you really sell the villa?" Then, "Please tell me this isn't real." I put the phone down and took a sip of tea. "It's real," I whispered. An hour passed. More calls, more noise, more panic. Then Laura joined in. "Helen, what happened? Why would you leave?" Then another. "The kids are scared. Please respond." Scared of losing comfort, not of losing me. Daniel again. "My cards aren't working. Did you do this?" Short answer, yes. Long answer, also yes. I didn't reply. Hannah leaned back. "He's unraveling fast." "He's meeting reality for the first time," I said. Around noon, Daniel switched tactics. The angry messages stopped, the confused ones started. "Mom, we came home ready to celebrate. Why didn't you talk to us first?" Talk? They never listened. Then, "We could have worked something out." Worked something out equals I pay. They enjoy. I set the phone aside. We went for a walk. Cold air, empty street. Silence that didn't demand anything from me. Halfway through, he called again. I let it ring, and ring, and ring. Voicemail. I played it. His voice cracked. "Mom, please, just tell me what's happening. I can't access anything. The bank froze everything. What am I supposed to do?" Hannah gave me a look. "Well?" He's learning cause and effect. Back at the house, a long message waited. "If you sold the villa, where are we supposed to go? What about the kids? What about our things?" Our? It was never theirs. Another, "Why would you disappear like this?" Disappear? No. I simply removed myself from where I wasn't wanted. I typed one sentence. "I didn't disappear." Send. He replied instantly. "Then tell me where you are." I didn't. In the late afternoon, Laura ramped up. "Helen, this isn't fair. You blindsided us." Fair? Fair was never on the table. Another, "We needed time to adjust." Time? They had years. They wasted every one. I replied, "I adjusted. Send." Hannah smirked. Sharp. By dinner, their whole tone shifted again. Desperation. Daniel, "Mom, the kids are asking for you. Sophie cried when she didn't see your car. Please, at least call them." I closed my eyes, not because it hurt, but because it didn't. Not anymore. Hannah touched my arm. "You don't have to break your boundaries for guilt." I know. Then a string of messages came in rapid fire. "We woke up and everything was gone." "Why did you empty the house?" "Where did you put our things?" Mom, answer me! This is getting out of hand. Out of hand, because I had taken my hand off their lives. I scrolled. No message asked if I was okay. Not one. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about consequences. There's a difference. At 7:42 p.m., Daniel sent the longest message yet. Why would you leave the country? You wrote that in the letter. Are you serious? Are you really gone? Mom, please. This is too much. We didn't want to hurt you. We were just trying to build our own family. We thought you understood. I read it twice. Then I typed, I understood perfectly. Send, no follow-up. He saw the message, then stopped typing. Hannah exhaled. You cut the cord clean. It needed to be cut. At 9 p.m., one final wave of calls came in. 5, 6, 7 in a row. I declined all. Then a voicemail. His voice was small. Mom, are you coming back? I turned the phone face down. No, I whispered. Not with anger, not with spite. Just truth. I showered, changed into clean clothes, sat on the bed in Hannah's guest room. One phone, one line, one choice. I turned it off, set it beside the lamp. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like a room finally cleared of noise that never belonged to me. Their backlash was loud, messy, panicked. But it wasn't my burden, not anymore. They had erased me for years. Inside their home, inside their plans, inside their pictures. Now they were feeling, for the first time, what erasure feels like. A blank space where someone used to stand. And I, for the first time, felt no need to fill it for them. I heard the knock before the sun came up. Slow, hesitant. I already knew who it was. I opened the door without a word, and there he stood, my son, pale, shaken, eyes red like he hadn't slept. Mom, can we talk? I stepped aside. No greeting, no smile, nothing. He walked in like he expected warmth. He didn't get any. He looked around my small apartment, nervous, lost. Mom, everything feels wrong. The house, the kids, Patricia, everything. I stayed silent. Silence is sharper than words. He felt it. He tried again. You left that letter on the table. Do you know what it did to us? I faced him. Do you know what your message did to me? He swallowed hard, couldn't look me in the eye. You didn't even let us explain, he whispered. I didn't need explanations, I said. You sent one sentence, and that was enough. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Good. For once, he understood the weight of silence. I'm trying, Mom, he said finally. I'm trying to fix this. You're not here to fix anything, I replied. You're here because you lost the house. His face fell. That's not true. It is. You didn't come for me. You came for convenience. Again. He sat down slowly. Shoulders collapsed. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. He stared at the floor like it could save him. You hurt me, I said, calm, firm, and you expected me to stay quiet, to accept it, to wait until you had time for me. He closed his eyes. I know. No, I corrected. You finally know. He looked up, desperate. Can we at least start over? Not like this. His voice cracked. Then how? With distance, I said. Real distance, the kind you forced on me. Now I'm choosing it too. He froze. Mom, please don't say that. You erased me from your family, I said. I'm just adjusting to the reality you created. He wiped his face quickly, embarrassed. The kids miss you, he whispered. I'll see them, I replied, but not through you, not through Patricia. On my terms, not yours. He nodded slowly. He knew he had no bargaining power left. When are you coming back home? He asked. I don't have a home with you, I answered. Not anymore. His breathing stuttered. So this is it? This is clarity, I said. He stood up like his legs had forgotten how to work. I never thought you'd change like this. I held his gaze. I changed the moment you told me I wasn't family. He looked at me one last time, hopeless. broken in the way people break when truth finally hits. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I heard you," I said, "but I'm not coming back to the version of me that tolerated everything." He nodded, defeated. There was nothing left for him to say. He walked to the door, opened it, paused. "Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye." He left. This time the door closed softly, not slammed. Soft closures hurt more. I woke up before my alarm. No heaviness, no panic, just quiet. The kind of quiet you only feel after making a final decision. I sat up, looked around my tiny apartment, and felt something strange. Relief. Not joy, not victory. Just relief. Clean, sharp, steady. I made coffee, simple, black. No rush, no one waiting for me, no one expecting anything from me. For the first time in years, my morning belonged to me. I checked my phone. No calls, no apologies, no guilt traps. Good. I scrolled past old photos, holidays, birthdays, forced smiles, the kind of pictures that hide the truth. I deleted them one by one, not out of anger, out of clarity. I wasn't erasing my past, I was removing the weight. I cleaned the table, threw away papers I didn't need, folded laundry, called the airline, booked a ticket, one way, no hesitation. The woman on the phone asked, "Will you need a return date?" "No," I said. "Not for now." I packed slowly, essentials only, clothes, passport, medications, my sketchbook, nothing from the old house, not one thing. I refused to carry anything that belonged to that version of me. At noon, I stepped outside. The air felt lighter. Even the sun felt normal, not something I had to earn, just there. I walked to the cafe on the corner. The owner recognized me and smiled. "The usual?" "Yes." I sat by the window, sipped my coffee, watched people walk by, couples, kids, workers, strangers with their own worries, their own hopes. And for the first time, I didn't feel behind. I didn't feel excluded. I didn't feel like someone waiting to be chosen. I felt like a person again. My phone buzzed. A long message from my son. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Whatever he wrote wouldn't change anything, not today. Another message from Patricia followed. Again, ignored. If they wanted answers, they already had them. I finished my coffee and walked to the cab stand. The driver asked where I was going. I gave him the address of the storage unit. He nodded. When I arrived, I opened my small locker. Inside were the only things I kept after selling the villa. A few documents, a pair of shoes, and a single photo of my grandkids. I took the photo, put it in my bag, closed the locker. Then I stood there, still, calm. This was it. The last physical tie to my old life. I told the clerk I was canceling the unit. He asked, "Are you sure?" "Yes," I said. "Absolutely." Outside, I took a deep breath. No drama, no tears, just a steady exhale. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. Something inside me had clicked into place. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was releasing them. Releasing the memory. Releasing the guilt. Releasing the version of myself who waited, begged, tried, tolerated, and hoped. She was gone. I walked toward the taxi, pulled my suitcase behind me, and said 2 simple words to the driver. "Airport, please." And just like that, I left. Calm, clear, done. The airport doors slid open. Cool air, bright lights, no hesitation. I walked straight to the counter, handed over my passport, and didn't look back once. The agent scanned my ticket and smiled. "Long trip?" "A necessary one," I answered. Simple, clear. At the gate, I sat alone. No noise, no demands. No guilt hovering over my shoulder. For years, every step I took belonged to someone else. Every plan I made revolved around their schedules, their needs, their moods. Not today. When the flight boarded, I found my seat, buckled in, and looked out the window. The runway lights blurred into thin lines. The plane lifted, and as the city shrank below me, something inside me unclenched. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I didn't second-guess myself. I just breathed. 9 hours later, I stepped into a new country like a blank page. Fresh air, foreign language, people rushing by who didn't know me, didn't expect anything from me. Perfect. I checked into my rental apartment. Small, clean, quiet. I dropped my luggage, opened the curtains, and let the daylight fill the room. No photos on the walls, no reminders, no echoes from the old life, just space. I unpacked only what I needed: clothes, my sketchbook, one framed photo of my grandkids, only them, no parents attached. Then I went outside. I walked through narrow streets lined with cafes, bakeries, old buildings. I felt invisible, but in the best way, free, unobserved, untied, a woman with no obligations except breathing and existing on her own terms. I bought a pastry, ate it while sitting on a bench. Warm, simple, good. I hadn't tasted something without stress in years. Later, I sat in a public square and drew. Nothing fancy, just lines, buildings, people, light. My hand didn't shake like it used to. My focus didn't drift. My mind felt quiet. A silence I had earned. My phone buzzed again. I didn't check it, not even a glance. I wasn't angry. I just wasn't available. Not now. Not yet. I spent the afternoon exploring. Bookstores, parks. A small art gallery run by an older woman with silver hair and strong eyes. She noticed the sketchbook in my hand and asked if I painted. "A bit," I said. She looked at my drawings. "You have control," she said, "and something restless." "Good combination." I smiled for real. "It's been a long time." "Then it's time to return," she said. "We have weekend workshops." I took the flyer. No promises. But for the first time in years, I wanted something for myself. That evening, I cooked a simple dinner in my tiny kitchen. Pasta, olive oil, garlic, nothing expensive, nothing stressful. I ate slowly, standing by the window as the city lights flickered awake. I didn't miss home. Not the old one, not the version of me that lived there. I sat on the bed, legs crossed, and whispered to myself, "This is my life now. Not borrowed, not shared, not taken for granted. Mine." I turned off the lights, lay down, and fell asleep instantly. No spinning thoughts, no guilt, no waiting for a message that would decide my day. Just rest. For the first time in decades, I wasn't someone's backup plan. I was my own beginning. 3 days after I settled into my new routine, my phone lit up with a video call request. Michael. I didn't answer. 30 seconds later, another call, then another, then a message. "Mom, please, it's urgent." I set the phone face down and continued slicing vegetables. My pace didn't change. 5 minutes later, another message arrived. This time, a photo. Michael sitting on the floor of the villa's empty living room. The caption, "Where are you? We need you." I didn't reply. An hour passed, then a barrage of texts. "Mom, the cards aren't working. Bank says the account is locked. We can't pay the movers. Lisa is crying. The kids are scared. Please answer." I read each one once and went back to cooking. No adrenaline, no guilt, just clarity. By evening, the messages shifted. "Why did you do this?" "Mom, this is too much. You're punishing us. Call me now!" No. The next morning I woke up to a voice note, Michael's voice cracking. "Mom, I don't know what to do. Everything is falling apart. Lisa is furious. The kids don't understand. I can't fix this. Please, just talk to me." I listened once, then deleted it. Around noon, the phone rang again, this time from Greg, my lawyer. "Helen," he said calmly, "your son called several times." "I'm aware. He's not handling this well." "He wasn't handling his responsibilities well either," I replied. Greg paused. Do you want me to redirect him? Yes, tell him everything is legal and final. I already did. Good. I ended the call and returned to my sketchbook. The line work was steadier than ever. By evening, Michael tried again, this time through video. Against my own expectations, I answered, not out of softness, out of control. I wanted him to look directly at the life he created. His face appeared instantly, eyes red, hair messy, breathing shaky. "Mom," he exhaled, "please don't hang up." "I won't," I said plainly. "Speak." He swallowed hard. "We have nowhere to stay. Lisa's parents live 2 hours away. We don't have enough for a deposit anywhere else. The kids keep asking why you left." "That's something you and Lisa can explain." "Mom, I made a mistake. I know that. But selling the villa, locking everything, leaving the country, this is too far." "No, Michael," I said slowly. "What you did was too far." He stared down, rubbing his forehead. His voice cracked. "I thought you'd forgive me like always." "That was the problem." He said nothing. I continued, steady and sharp. "You removed me from Christmas. You made it clear I was optional, so I removed myself, permanently." His breath hitched. "I didn't mean it like that. You meant every word." He shook his head. "Mom, I can't fix this." "For once," I replied, "you'll have to." His shoulders collapsed. Pure defeat. "Helen, please, I need you." "No, Michael. You need accountability, and you finally have it." He covered his face with both hands, silent, broken, exactly where the consequences were meant to land. I ended the call. The apartment was quiet again, peaceful, mine. I closed the curtains, made tea, and sat down to finish my drawing. My phone stayed on the table, screen black, notifications off. Michael's collapse wasn't my crisis, it was his lesson. Lisa showed up at my door on a Tuesday morning, no message, no warning, just her, standing there with a stiff smile and shaking hands. I opened the door only halfway. She swallowed. "Helen, could we talk?" "No," I said. "Say what you came to say." She blinked at the coldness. "Good." I wanted to apologize," she said quietly, "for everything, for the message, for excluding you, for the villa, for how I treated you." I didn't move. I didn't soften. "Why now?" I asked. Her eyes darted away. "Because Michael is still struggling, and because we finally realized how wrong we were." "You realized it after losing the villa," I said. "Not before." She opened her mouth, closed it, then nodded. "That's true," she whispered. I waited. No rescue, no comfort. She took a breath. "I'm not here to ask for money, or help, or anything like that. I just want things to be peaceful." "They are peaceful," I replied, "because you're not in my life." She flinched. "Helen, please, I'm trying." "So am I," said, "to protect what I rebuilt." She stared at me like she expected a different version of me, the old one, the one who gave until she was empty. That woman was gone. Lisa held out an envelope. "This is for you." "I don't take envelopes," I said. "Say it." Her voice cracked. "We're going to counseling." "Good. We're trying to fix what we broke." "You should." She swallowed again. "And Michael, he wants to talk to you." "No," I said. Her shoulders tensed. "But he's changing." "He's starting," I corrected. "That's not the same." Lisa stepped closer. I didn't move. "Helen, he misses you." "I don't doubt that," I said. "People miss the things they thought would always be there." She froze. The truth hit her harder than any insult. "I'm not asking you to go back to how things were," she whispered. "I never will." She nodded slowly. "I understand." "No," I said. "You're beginning to understand. It's not the same." She looked down at her shoes. "I was wrong." "Yes. I hurt you." Yes. And you didn't deserve that. No, I said. I didn't. She lifted her eyes. There was no fake politeness now, just a woman finally seeing the damage she caused. Helen, she whispered, what can I do? Nothing, I said. Fix yourself. Fix your marriage. Fix your home. But you don't get access to me as a reward. She inhaled sharply. I didn't come to take anything from you. You already did, I said, more than you realize. Silence, heavy, direct. I stepped back slightly. Here are my conditions, I said. She straightened fast, listening, fearing. Knowing this was the last chance to stay human in the story. You don't show up unannounced again, I said. She nodded. You don't ask for meetings. Nod. You don't use my name to comfort Michael. Her eyes widened. Nod again. And you don't involve the children in this, I added. Ever. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Good. Tears are cheap. Helen, will you ever forgive us? That depends on what you do, I said. Not what you say. She wiped her nose. I want to make this right. You can't make it right, I said. You can only make it better than it was. Her chin trembled, but she kept standing. You should also know, I said. I'm leaving soon. She blinked fast. Leaving? Where? Scotland. Her eyes widened. For how long? As long as I want. She looked like someone had just cut the last rope holding her steady. Michael won't take this well, she whispered. That's not my responsibility. She nodded slowly, accepting, breaking, growing. May I tell him I saw you? She asked. Yes, I said, but not more than that. Her voice softened. Can you tell him something? No. She closed her eyes briefly. A clean, sharp disappointment. When she opened them, her voice was small but honest. Thank you for letting me say this. I didn't let you, I said. I listened. That's all. Lisa stepped back, hands tight, face drained. She walked to the end of the porch before turning around. Helen, she said quietly, you're stronger than you ever were. No, I said, I'm finally myself. She nodded, defeated and respectful. Then she left, walking slowly to her car, shoulders low, steps heavy. I watched her go without emotion, no satisfaction, no triumph, just clarity. My house was silent again, calm, mine. I closed the door, locked it, stood there for a moment, not shaking, not angry, not hurt, just done. This was not revenge. This was not cruelty. This was consequence. And I delivered it without raising my voice. I left Charleston at dawn. No goodbye, no note, no hesitation, just a suitcase and a ticket to Edinburgh. At the airport, I checked in with one sentence. Edinburgh. One way. The attendant nodded. Didn't ask anything. Good. On the plane, I ignored every message. Michael called. Lisa texted. Voicemails stacked up. I didn't open a single one. Silence was the cleanest answer I had. When we landed, the air hit sharp and cold. It felt right. Hannah was waiting near baggage claim. Warm coat. Steady eyes. You made it, she said. Yes, I replied. No explanations. She didn't need any. We drove through narrow stone streets until we reached her cottage. Quiet neighborhood. Simple house. No noise, no expectations. Inside, she handed me a cup of tea. Long trip? She asked. No. She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. That's why I came here. I slept for 10 hours straight. No nightmares, no tension, just rest. The next morning, I woke up clear, focused, ready. I went downtown to sign the lease for a small studio space. White walls, empty room, perfect. The landlord asked, "Do you need anything?" "No," I said. I didn't need anything from anyone anymore. At noon, I bought supplies, paper, brushes, paints, a plain wooden table. Nothing fancy, just mine. Back at the studio, I unpacked everything slowly. Controlled, exact. I sat down, picked up the brush, started painting. No purpose, no pressure, just movement. My phone buzzed once. I didn't check it. It buzzed again, then non-stop. I turned it face down. By late afternoon, my hand was steady, my breathing even, my mind quiet. I wasn't escaping, I wasn't hiding, I was replacing chaos with order, noise with space, obligation with choice. At 3:40 p.m., an email arrived. Subject, legal update. I opened it. Greg's message was short. Michael filed a complaint. The court dismissed it immediately. Everything is settled. I replied with one line, "Thank you." Then I turned the phone off completely. At 6 p.m., Hannah came by with dinner. "How was your day?" she asked. "Productive," she smiled. "You look lighter." "I am." "You sure you're okay?" "Yes." That was the truth, simple and final. After she left, I walked outside and took the long route home. Cold air, steady footsteps, no rush. For years I had moved for others. Tonight, I moved for me. When I got back to the cottage, the porch light was on, warm enough to see the path, not warm enough to change the cold in my chest. Inside, I made tea and sat by the window. No memories, no regrets, just a woman in the right place at the right time. At 9:12 p.m., my phone vibrated again. One message, from Michael. I read it this time. "Mom, I know you're gone. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to talk." I stared at the screen for 3 seconds, then turned the phone off again. I wasn't punishing him. I wasn't angry. I was done. Done carrying the weight. Done waiting for apologies. Done bending. This wasn't revenge. This was distance. Clean distance. The next morning, I visited the art school near the city square. A flyer on the wall read, "Adult Beginner Watercolor. Enroll now." I walked to the front desk. "I want to sign up," I said. "For the beginner class?" the clerk asked. "For now." She handed me a schedule. I accepted it without thinking twice. At the first session, the instructor walked by and glanced at my work. "You've got control," he said. "I've had practice." He smiled. "Control comes from clarity." I didn't respond, but the words fit. My phone stayed off the entire day. No calls, no interruptions. My life was finally mine. In the evening, Hannah cooked soup, and we ate quietly. "You're settling fast," she said. "I decided before I got here." She nodded. "That helps." "It changes everything," I said. After dinner, I went for another walk, this time to the hill overlooking the city. Lights scattered below, small, far, uncomplicated. I stood there for a while, not thinking about Michael, not thinking about the villa, not thinking about the message that started everything, just breathing. On the walk back, I turned the phone on, only to check one thing. No missed calls from Sophie, just one message from her earlier in the week. "Grandma, I hope you're okay. I love you." I typed slowly. "I'm okay. I love you too." Nothing more. She didn't make the choices her parents did. She didn't deserve the consequences. I slipped the phone into my pocket, left it there, didn't check again. At night, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. No guilt, no fear. Just a clean, solid end to a chapter I had dragged behind me for too long. Tomorrow I would paint again, and the next day, and the next. Not to prove anything, not to heal anyone, just because I wanted to. This was closure, quiet, sharp, final, and I delivered it the same way I delivered everything else in my new life, without looking back. I woke up before sunrise on the first morning of my new life. No noise, no obligations, no footsteps pacing outside my door. For the first time in years, I didn't have to brace myself for someone else's demands. The quiet wasn't empty. It was clean. I brewed coffee in my small modern kitchen, my kitchen, bought with my money, earned with my choices. Not a reminder of Michael, not a reminder of Lisa. Every corner belonged to me. By 7 a.m., I was already reviewing property listings. Not for them, for me. I had spent decades building a financial foundation only to watch them try to siphon it behind my back. That era was over. Now every dollar would work for my future, not their convenience. The first place I bought was a coastal apartment overlooking the marina. Glass walls, white interior, minimalist style, peaceful, sharp, exactly what my life needed to look like. I signed the closing documents in under 10 minutes, no hesitation. The realtor asked, "Do you need help arranging movers?" "No," I said. "I left everything that wasn't mine." She didn't ask another question. 2 weeks later, I moved in with 2 suitcases, a laptop, and a folder of legal documents. Everything else, every memory, every trace of that house, every picture Michael tried to weaponize, was gone, donated, erased. My attorney called the same afternoon. "Congratulations, Helen. The villa sale is officially closed." I watched the blue ocean through the glass wall and answered calmly, "Good. One chapter done." He hesitated. Michael attempted one more appeal. I expected that. He failed. It's over. Perfect. I hung up without another word. This was the part of life where people usually collapse from the emotional fallout. But I didn't collapse. I evolved. It felt like I had shed a heavy coat I'd been forced to wear for years, one stitched with guilt, manipulation, and the weight of being the good mother. I wasn't interested in that role anymore. 2 days later, I received an email from a consulting firm I had interviewed with months prior. The position was still open. They asked if I could start immediately. I responded within 5 minutes. Yes. Work re-entered my life like oxygen. Strategy meetings, project deadlines, clear structure, clear results, no guilt, no drama. My time finally mattered again. I rebuilt my routine with precision. 6 o'clock a.m., wake, coffee, walk by the marina. 8 o'clock a.m., work 6 o'clock p.m., gym 8 o'clock p.m., dinner alone, quiet, intentional, 10 o'clock p.m. Sleep no chaos, no emotional landmines, no waiting for someone to treat me like more than a disposable piece of furniture. My circle became small, intentional. Colleagues who respected boundaries, neighbors who minded their own business, new friends who didn't know a single detail about Michael or Lisa. Freedom tasted like clarity. For a while, my phone stayed silent. They didn't know where I lived. They didn't know my schedule. They didn't know anything. But silence never lasts forever. One Thursday afternoon, as I left the office, I saw him. Michael, leaning against the building's glass wall, looking exhausted, thinner, desperate. The moment he saw me, he straightened. "Mom." I didn't stop walking. He stepped into my path. "Please, just give me a second." I looked at him, expression flat. "Move." He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked. "For everything," he said. "For the villa. For the lies. For letting Lisa push you out. For not protecting you. For not being—" "Stop." He did. People passing by looked at us and quickly looked away. His shoulders slumped, but his eyes stayed locked on me. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Just talk. Not about the villa, not about money. About us." "There is no us, Michael." The words hit him like a slap. He blinked rapidly, either to keep from breaking down or to keep from showing anger. Maybe both. "I'm trying," he whispered. "You're trying because you lost," I replied, "not because you changed." He exhaled shakily. "Lisa left." "That's not my problem." He looked stunned. "You don't care?" "No," I said calmly. "I don't." He took a step closer. "I need you." "You needed me when you were signing transfer papers behind my back," I said. "You needed me when you told me I wasn't family enough to be at Christmas. You needed me when you used my home as leverage, and you didn't care, not once." He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "You don't want me," I said. "You want access. You want safety. You want the version of me you could control." "That's not true," he said weakly. "It is." He reached into his pocket with trembling hands and pulled out a folded envelope. "I wrote this. It explains things. Can you read it?" "No. Helen, please. You lost your right to ask me for anything." His face tightened, not with anger, with realization, the kind that lands like ice water on the spine, the kind that confirms the door is truly shut. He lowered his arm slowly. "So that's it? You're done with me?" "No," I said. "I'm done being used by you." He swallowed hard. "Can I call you, just to check in?" "No." "Can I see where you live?" "No." "Can I—" "No." Each answer was a clean slice, final, precise, necessary. He stepped back as if physically pushed. "I don't know how to live without you. You should have thought about that before you tried to erase me." The wind picked up slightly. His suit jacket rustled. My hair brushed my cheek. Everything else stayed still. "Goodbye, Michael," I said. He stared at me, wide-eyed, broken in a way I no longer felt responsible for repairing. "Mom, please." I turned and walked away. No hesitation, no guilt, no second thoughts. My heels clicked against the pavement with steady, controlled precision. My shoulders stayed square. My pace never changed. For the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away from someone. I was walking toward my future, and I didn't look back. The morning after I walked away from Michael, the ocean outside my balcony looked different, sharper, brighter, calmer. Or maybe I was the one who had changed. Either way, the horizon no longer felt like a boundary. It felt like an invitation. I made my coffee, opened my laptop, and started drafting the next phase of my life the same way I handled everything now. Directly, cleanly, without apology. The first step was simple. I updated every legal document I owned. New emergency contacts, new beneficiaries, new directives. For decades, I had built wealth for a family that believed they could quietly take it from me. Not anymore. Every asset, from my savings to the marina apartment, was now locked behind a firewall of new protections. New attorney, new trust structure, new rules. Everything airtight, everything mine. By noon, I was already walking through a commercial property downtown, guided by a broker who kept glancing at me with that respectful caution people adopt when they're not sure how much power you have, but suspect it's a lot. "This unit is popular," he said. "Several investors are looking at it." I stepped inside the open space, floor-to-ceiling windows, polished concrete, clean lines. It felt right, quiet, but strong, like a blank page with structure. "I'm not several investors," I replied. "I'm a decision." He blinked. "So, you want it?" "I'm buying it," I said. "Draft the offer." And he did, immediately. By the end of the day, I owned my first commercial suite, an investment with long-term returns, stable tenants, and zero emotional ties. It was the opposite of the life I left. Predictable, logical, profitable. My phone buzzed twice while I finished signing. Unknown number, I didn't check. Anyone who needed access to me already had it. Anyone who didn't could stay exactly where they were, in the past. That night, I walked along the marina boardwalk, hands in my coat pockets, breeze in my hair. Families strolled by, couples held hands, joggers passed with headphones on. Life moved around me, but not through me. For once, I wasn't absorbing everyone else's noise. I existed on my own frequency. When I returned to my apartment, I found a small envelope slipped under my door. No handwriting on the front, no name. Just a thin white rectangle staring up at me. I didn't need to open it to know who it was from. I left it exactly where it fell. I wasn't repeating history. Instead, I showered, pulled on a fresh robe, and sat down at my desk with my planner. Tomorrow's agenda filled quickly. 8 a.m., contract review. 10 a.m., walkthrough of the second investment property. 1 p.m. Call with my attorney. 3 p.m. Meet potential consultant partner. 6 p.m. 6. Dinner reservation for 1, a life with structure, a life with clarity, a life without betrayal hiding behind every hallway. The next morning, the envelope was still there when I opened the door. I stepped over it and left. At the second property, a luxury townhouse being flipped, I walked room to room examining angles, sunlight, noise, potential tenant appeal. A younger woman shadowed me, taking notes. She was new, nervous, and eager to impress. "Ms. Whitmore," she said gently, "do you ever want to slow down?" "Slow down for what?" I replied. She smiled awkwardly. "For breathing?" "I've spent half my life breathing for others," I said. "Now I move." She wrote something quickly, maybe a reminder to herself. Or maybe she just understood. By afternoon, the townhouse was mine too. 2 properties in 2 days. The beginning of my new portfolio, my new identity, my new empire. At 3 p.m., I met with a consultant, Evelyn, mid-40s, sharp mind, sharper voice. She had heard about my rapid involvement in the market and wanted a partnership. "You're rebuilding fast," she observed. "I'm not rebuilding," I corrected. "I'm starting." She smiled, impressed. "Then let's build something worth your name." Her confidence matched mine. We shook hands. A new alliance forged, clean, professional, equal. By evening, I was at my dinner reservation, seated on a terrace overlooking the water. Candlelit tables around me buzzed with laughter and conversation, but mine stayed quiet, peaceful. The waiter poured wine. "Waiting for someone?" he asked lightly. "No," I said. "I came alone, by choice." He nodded with a polite smile, but I could tell he didn't fully understand. That was fine. Most people don't grasp the freedom of choosing yourself over tradition. Midway through my meal, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. Michael's voice, cracking, pleading, desperate. I deleted it without listening past the first second. Actions have consequences. Not just for me, for him too. When I arrived home, the envelope was gone, meaning someone had returned to take it, or someone had been watching. Either option didn't concern me. Nothing about my past scared me anymore. The next morning, the sun rose over the marina in streaks of gold and white, hitting my glass wall with a brilliance that filled the entire room. I stood there barefoot, coffee in hand, letting the light wash over me. This wasn't the life I expected. It was better, quieter, sharper, stronger. By noon, Evelyn and I were already mapping out our first major acquisition, an old boutique hotel near the coast that needed renovation and new management. She talked numbers while I reviewed structural reports, and together we planned something that felt big. Not petty revenge, not financial survival, growth, intentional, powerful growth. At the end of the meeting, Evelyn closed her folder and studied me carefully. "You know," she said, "most people crumble after family betrayal." "I did," I replied, just quietly, before anyone noticed. "And now?" "Now I build," she nodded. "Then this is just the beginning." I walked out into the sunlight, wind in my hair, heels tapping against the ground with the exact rhythm of my new life. Not chasing, not waiting, not hoping someone would choose me. I had already chosen myself. My new beginning wasn't a moment. It was a decision, and I wasn't turning back. And that is where Helen finally stepped into the life she should have had all along. Quiet, strong, free. If this story stayed with you, even just a little, feel free to let me know. Your comments, your thoughts, your own stories. They truly keep this channel alive. If you enjoyed this journey, you can subscribe so you won't miss the next one. No pressure, just a warm invitation. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Thank you for listening all the way through. And wherever you're watching from, I hope you stay safe, stay gentle with yourself, and I'll see you in the next story. Take care.